The solution to the equation, 5e to the x plus 2 equals 7. Now, remember when you have e, that means natural log. And you can't do anything without getting rid of that 5 first. Okay? So kind of just moving this way. I'm going to get e to the x plus 2 equals 7 over 5, right? Then I can natural log both sides. So I'm going to draw ln here, and I'm going to squeeze one in right there. Now, because I've taken the natural log, I can throw this exponent to the front. So I have x plus 2 times ln of e equals ln of 7 over 5, okay? ln of e is equal to 1, so it just cancels. So I have x plus 2 equals ln of 7 over 5. I want to get this x alone. I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. These cancel. So I get x equals ln of 7 over 5 minus 2. Now, the solution to the equation, blah, 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 is which one of these? It's not negative 3 over 5, right? Because I didn't put this in the calculator for you because it was asking for which ones were similar, was more or less the answer, right? The decimal that I got was negative 1.6, whatever, right? So, but that is not the equivalent of number 3, right? So it's not 3. When you do the calculations, when you compute this, you don't get negative 3 over 5 or its decimal equivalent. Excuse me. What you can do now is kind of look, right? So I know I have ln of 7 over 5. So it can't be this one because this has ln of 2 in it. Now looking at these two, right? I'm hoping at this point you guys kind of realize that the answer is 1. But looking closely at 2, we have ln of 7 divided by ln of 5. We didn't ln 2 times. We just took the natural log 1 time. So it's not 2. The answer is actually 1. Okay, which 40% of you guys got. Now, which equation describes a function whose inverse is not a function? I was hoping you guys would remember kind of what we discussed in class. But remember, a function is when you switch it out, right? So x equals 3y plus 2. X equals negative y. This would be x equals 2 to the y power. Now, here, this is an issue. The answer is clearly 1. But when you have an absolute value function, remember, in order for something to be an inverse, the order pairs have to be different. For example, if I have 1, 2, when I take the inverse, is 2, 1. It's not going to overlap. It's not going to touch, right? The numbers look the same, but they're different values for x and different values for y. So in an absolute value function, the numbers are always going to come out positive and they're going to repeat. So it's always absolute value, okay? So if you want to find out which one is not a function, you go for that absolute value because the numbers are always going to be positive, okay? Number 12, the current population of a town is 10,000. Population increases 20% each year. This is percent change. Oh my God, percent change. You guys are still struggling with this. I'm sorry. Please tell me how I can help you better with this. Although, for this question, we did see, a lot of you guys chose 1, which is not correct. So a lot of you guys did better. I'm going to give you credit. You did better by understanding that 20% is supposed to change into 0.2, right? Which was the problem on the first benchmark. However, it says the population increases. So that means that in your percent change parentheses, it's going to be 100 plus. So remember, if it's decay, it's 100 minus 0. Or 1 minus 0.2, which would give you 0.8. However, since it's increased, you add, so it's 1 plus 0.2, which is 1.2, and the correct answer is 3. I'm really sorry for constantly coughing in your ears, by the way. Sorry, not sorry. 13, Stephen collects population data on a specific strain of bacteria over time, blah, 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 blah. Which equation represents the graph of P of H? Now, just by looking at this, I know that this is an exponential function just because of the way it looks, okay? Basing our knowledge, right? It's a times b to the x power. The variable has to be an exponent. None of these functions, none of them have a variable as an exponent except for number 1. So for 13, we were checking more importantly to see if you understood how to associate the look of it to what it's supposed to be here. This was the only one that had a variable as an exponent. 60, what is that? Almost 70% of you guys got this correct. So great job. This one I can understand where you guys kind of had trouble. It was in the inversing. So here, right? So if I got to change it. I got to find the inverse. So this is technically my y right here. And I got to flip it. So I get x equals negative 6y plus 1 over 2. Got to get this y alone. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract that 1 over 2. Okay? I'm going to continue over here. So I have x minus 1 over 2 equals negative 6y. Now, following order of operations, right? Inverse operations, negative 6 on both sides. These cancel. So this part right here is probably where I feel like you guys were like, what? So y, right, equals, I have a 1 here. 1 divided by negative 6. So it's going to be negative 1 over 6x. That's going to be the first thing, right? Now, a fraction divided by a number. So instead of trying to crack your heads about what that proper math is, just use your calculators, okay? So I'm leaving this. I programmed it for you guys here. Here we go. So all I did was, just to kind of show you again, press enter. I put the function, the fraction function in, and then on the numerator, I pressed fraction again, and I put that negative 1 over 2. And then at the bottom, I put the 6. Now, the fraction it gave you was this, but then when I converted it to a fraction, I got 1 over 2. It's just, I wanted to model for you guys how to use your tools instead of trying to sit there and like crack the Da Vinci Code, because like, boy, we're taking a test. It's about getting the most right in the allotted amount of time. So after doing this work, number 14, the answer is 3. This question was interesting because the data for this was so spread out. So for me, it read to me like you guys were guessing. So I'm hoping that this little tidbit that I gave you here on and how to use a calculator to get you through that will help you on your future exams. Number 15. So let's go ahead and close this tab. Number 15, it says, which statement about the graph of f of x equals negative log times x plus 4 plus 2 is true? Okay. Did I put that in correctly? Negative log. There's no base, right? Yep. X plus 4 plus 2. Yep. So looking at this graph, right? I know that the asymptote is negative 4. It's not passing negative 4. Okay. And I can see here, like if I zoom in, that the intercept is going to be about, what's that? 1.398. Okay. I know that my function is decreasing to kind of like, it's just decreasing. It's moving in this way. You know, there's nothing really going on here. So f of x has a y-intercept. I can cancel these out. I already looked at the y-intercept. It's like a decimal. So those don't make sense. Now, kind of reading into this, as x moves towards positive infinity, y is moving towards positive infinity. So for a function to be moving towards positive infinity and also on the y, it has to be going up like this. My function is not doing that. It's going the opposite way. So I can cancel this answer choice out. But also like this makes sense, right? Because my asymptote is negative 4. So as x is moving towards negative 4, y is moving towards positive infinity. And that's actually absolutely correct, because if I'm moving this way, right, as my function moves, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see that negative 4. As my function moves towards negative 4, I'm starting to use all of the positive values on the y-axis. So actually, the correct answer here is 4. We did this one in class. However, you not getting it right. A lot of you guys said two. I don't understand. Okay, so the trick here was reading the guide here. There's a bullet point, and there is the kind of like stars, I would say. The correct answer here for number 16, a lot of you guys chose two, when in fact the answer was four. Okay, because I'm not moving up. So the question is, right, the graph represents the national state average, blah, blah, blah. If New York State's gas prices are modeled by G of X, New York State is the bullet point at the top one, okay? Which expression best approximates the national average X from August of 2014? So looking here, this point to this point, I went down. I went down by whatever. All of my points went down. So that means I subtracted on the outsides. To shift down, I subtract on the outside. So the answer here is 4. Okay. Just looking at my data for this question, 45% of you guys got it, chose 2, which is a huge misconception. Okay. We got to make sure we get that in order before we take the regions. For the real values, if f of x is this and g of x is this, what is f of x minus g of x? Now, this FOIL situation just kept reoccurring on the exam because we cannot let y'all live without knowing how to FOIL properly. So I can't subtract the two functions until I FOIL them out. So I got x minus 3 times, then I got x plus 3 times x plus 3. Okay? X times x equals x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And negative 3 times negative 3 is equal to 9. Like terms. So for this one, I get x squared minus 6x plus 9. Boom. That's my f of x. Subtract. Doing that work again here. X times x equals x times 3 is 3x. 3 times x is 3x. And then 3 times 3 is 9. Like terms, it's going to be positive 6x. So minus x squared plus 6x minus 9. Now, when you're subtracting, remember you got to distribute this negative. So what I actually get is x squared minus 6x plus 9 minus x squared minus 6x plus 9. All of these signs change because you got to distribute the negative to everything. These two cancel. So then I get negative 6x minus 6x, which is negative 12x. Then I have 9 plus 9, which is 18. Whoa, something's not right. Wait a minute. What's the answer to number 17? 3? Let me get back to you on this one. Let me talk to Mr. Morris about that. Moving on. You should have gotten, because negative and a negative is a positive. Positive and positive is this. So, that's my mistake. Positive, positive, so I put minus 9 here. This should be plus. So then I get minus here. So these two cancel also, which means there's no 18, which means the answer is 3. Let me see. 36% of you guys said 4. That's a guess. 18. Well, no, let me go back to this, right? I'm not going to just ignore this. I want you to observe how the answer that I got was not an answer choice. And then I was like, wait a minute. And I went back to my work and I was like, all right, what did I do wrong? So the way that I wrote this expression going in, I wrote the wrong sign. Notice how writing one symbol throws off your entire response. Okay. So that's that kind of like perseverance that I'm modeling about, like, it doesn't match. Let me go back through and check for my work. okay? Now here, remember when you multiply equations that are fractions, the denominators have to be the same. So this is a 3, this is a 6 and a 6. I can make a 3 and 6 by multiplying by 2. So I'm going to take that x minus 2 times 3 and multiply it by 2. So that means that both top and bottom get multiplied by 2. And that is, it distributes, right? So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times -4 is -4. So I'm going to get over 6, okay? Now I'm going to bring the rest of this down. Plus 1 over 6 equals 5 over 6. These knock out right away. When the denominators are the same, you can just cancel them all out. It's kind of like log with the same base. 2x minus 4 plus 1 equals 5. These two combine. -4 plus 1 is -3 equals 5. Inverse operations. Again, my goal is to get that x alone. 5 plus 3 is 8. Divide by 2. Boom. X equals 4. So your answer should say the 1. Ah, my dear friend. Which expression is equivalent to? So we got to look at this individually, right? Also, not even, right? Remember that if the indexes are the same, you can go ahead and multiply straight across. So I have A and I have nothing here, which we just treated as a 1. So A, excuse me, A times 1 is just A, okay? So it's going to be A with that index of 3, okay? And then 2 times 4 is 8. There's no A here, so I'm just going to put A squared here, right? There's no A. But I do have another set of like terms, which is B squared times B, which is B to the third. Now, I'm taking the cube root. So that means that this A squared is not going to be able to come out of here because everything has to be, the exponents have to be divisible by 3. So that means that this bad boy can. And then I'm taking the cube root of 8. The cube root of 8 is 2. So that means that this can come out as a 2, and this could come out as just a B, okay? So now I have 2 times A times B on the outside. Radicand 3, right? A squared. 2 times A times B is 2AB. And whatever's left on the inside stays inside. Now, a lot of y'all, let me see what the data looks like on this question. The right answer is 1, which is what I have, right? But for this question, 40% of y'all chose 3. And let me tell you why this is an issue. We gave y'all a worksheet on this, and we gave y'all plenty of Delta math, and a lot of y'all try to skip past this. This topic is very important on the Algebra 2 regions. So if you are still not understanding this, you need to make sure that you are clear before moving forward. Last question. A student plotted the data from the sleep study, blah, 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 right? So looking at my points, right, I can already see, so the average number of hours in sleep per day and the age. So what I can conclude here, right, it looks like the age is increasing. So as the age is increasing, the less sleep. So the older you are, the less sleep you get, right? And this is giving kind of linear function vibes because it's moving directly. So I would use a linear regression for this. Let's look at what this says. The student used the equation y equals negative 0.09x plus 9.24 to model the data. What does the average rate of change represent in terms of these data, right? So I know that my function is moving down, so I can go right ahead and eliminate 1 and 3 because the keywords there are increase, okay? And the average rate of, so let's see what these answer choices are. The average number of hours of sleep per day increases, right? So this is my slope. So it needs to be incorporated. The average number of sleep per day decreases by no, that's not average rate of change. The answer here is 2. And golly, 77% of you